This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.
Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports, and today we've got the head men's basketball coach from Tennessee State University, Collins, and also we have Coach Glasgow from Lincoln Prep. He's also not just a basketball coach, he's the AD, and we're getting ready to roll with Coach Collins. Hey, Coach Collins, pleasure having you on the show.
Man, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Hey, Coach Glasgow, pleasure having you on the show. In the future, Coach Glasgow really is going to be hosting these shows, and hopefully we're going to have some synergy today and some collaboration in the future. Hey, Coach, first thing I'd like to do is, in quick order as you can, so that our audience knows a little bit about you. Talk about the first time you fell in love with basketball. I want you to give those coaches and mentors that help you build your skill set to where it's at right now. Then Coach Glasgow is going to chop it up with you on the real deal. What's going on down there on the court? Y'all going hard in the paint, or y'all going silky smooth, rough and ready? What that's all about?
Okay.
Hit it.
Well, yeah, for me personally, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. That's when I first really fell in love with the game. My dad's a high school coach, so I was pretty much born into basketball. As far as I can remember back, just always being around that gym. I just remember that smell of them old rubber and that court back then, it would just hit differently when you come into the gym. I remember just that smell of going into the locker room with just that. Back then they had this thing called atomic bomb. Y'all remember that? You open it up, it was orange, and I remember walking in the locker room, smelling that smell, and the cones smelled different back then too. That rubber was different. You know what I mean? Like, that's my earliest memory of basketball, and just falling in love with the game. Traveling with his teams and going from city to city, and those rivalry games in Memphis, man, basketball in Memphis is big time. So that's where I really fell in love with the game, and that sparked returning to a college coaching career.
Run it down. Who's been some of your mentors? You just ain't getting no skill set out the blue with the cones and the atomic bomb. Who are some of your mentors, and what some of the bitty teams that you played for? Some of them coaches that help you get your skill set.
Yeah, obviously my dad, my mom and my dad are my first two real coaches.
And what's give the audience what their names are, so we can give them big props.
My dad's Ricky Collins. He coached in Memphis at Central High School, and he played college basketball. He played high school ball under the legendary Cornelius Ridley here in Nashville, and he just began his coaching career right after he graduated college. So he coached over 40 plus years, and he really instilled a lot of fundamentals, and really just about how to do things the right way from a coaching standpoint. I've always just kind of followed him and watched how he moved. And then my mother, Andrea Collins, I got to give her credit on just the character that I was able to build as a player and to a coach. Just about how the demeanor you need to have, doing the right things off the court, making sure that you got a clean slate, making sure that you're not ever being rattled and showing it to the crowd. Just little small things like that. So I really give her all the credit for.
Happy Mother's Day, Miss Collins.
No doubt. Absolutely. So I got to give them credit. I find it odd that a lot of times, especially African American, we don't really, not everybody's blessed to have mama and daddy and in the household. And I'm one of those rare ones. Of a lot of my friends don't have both. So I'm one of the rare ones that have mom and dad, and it's hard for me to give other people credit when I already had a strong foundation coming out of my living room every day.
That's excellent, Coach. That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I worked under some great coaches, but I do want to give some credit to my AAU coach, Michael Williams. When I was in high school, I moved to Nashville, and I played for a program called Tennessee Thunder. And when I got a chance to play with Mike Williams, the Tennessee Thunder, he really, gave us just like what it means to be a team and taught me how to be a better leader, and gave me that tough love and gave me the rope to make mistakes. Because a lot of being able to have an opportunity to be successful, whether you're in coaching, playing, is about having opportunity. Somebody giving you a chance to go out there and be great. So Mike Williams gave me an opportunity to be a leader with some of the best players in the city of Nashville. And I think that really helped my leadership skills going into college, and which ended up turning me into the leadership skills of being a coach.
Hey, Coach, I'm handing off to Coach Glasgow, where y'all could chop it up on the real side.
All right.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate you being on, man, taking the time out of your day, man, to rap with us for a while, man. We appreciate you here in the Midwest. Tell me about Tennessee State, what you guys got going, as far as the program, how long you've been there, what your vision is for the program, and, what you guys look like right now going through the COVID and everything. All of us as coaches and, in athletics, we all have to adjust everything we're doing right now. It's a lot different than just being in that gym that you were talking about earlier, hanging out with the guys, it's no personal contact like that. Just tell us about your program, how you guys are working through all that stuff.
Well, yeah. First of all, I'm going into my third year here at Tennessee State, and coming to Tennessee State is a dream come true for me, because I'm from Nashville. I was born in Memphis, but I've been in Nashville longer. And my parents went to school here, my grandparents and my sister. This is just a family atmosphere here at Tennessee State. Right. And going into my first year, we had a really good. From a win-loss standpoint, it wasn't good because we only won 9 games, but we learned a whole lot. But the biggest thing that we could take away from that going into year 2, we only brought back 2 guys from that roster, and we doubled our win totals from 9 to 18. And I thought that was a really great jump, and we were really competitive towards the top of the league. And our trajectory of what my goal for this program to go is, we're headed in the right direction right now. All of our young men that have played for me so far have all graduated, and we've got some guys playing pro ball. All that stuff is cool, but the biggest thing for me right now is I want to make history at TSU and put TSU on the map as one of the premier HBCUs in the country. Number one of the premier HBCU mid-major basketball programs in the country, and we want to be recognized nationally as a basketball program that's going to be tough to be reckoned with. So we're definitely headed that way. With this team coming back next year, going into my third year, we got 9 guys returning. So I feel really, really good about where the program is headed, and we just got a new athletic director who's bringing in some new ideas. So it's just a really good time to be in Nashville and be a part of Tennessee State.
That's great, man. Recruiting's everything, in college basketball. Really lately for high school and AAU, it seemed to kind of taken a fold where, recruiting kids is a big deal. But I know for you guys, competing in Ohio Valley Conference, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough league. A lot of those leagues get underrated by the Power 5 stuff and all of that. So how is recruiting going for you guys right now with the COVID and everything happening? You guys got 9 players, so I'm sure you're not really that concerned with really adding a bunch of guys. So how's that look for you guys right now?
Well, and to the second part of your last question, this COVID-19 has been obviously affecting everybody. And for the guys we have on the roster now, we haven't had a chance to touch them or be with them physically. So we're doing a lot of stuff virtually, doing a lot of stuff online, a lot of Zoom meetings. We meet with them at least once a week. We're going to start trying to figure out a way to crank up some type of workout to where we're able to kind of make sure they're lifting or doing something, kind of getting, if we do have the opportunity to come back and practice this summer. But it's the same thing for recruiting. We do a lot of virtual online stuff, do virtual tours for potential student athletes that we want to get to come to TSU eventually. With this particular recruiting class, we still have 1 scholarship left, so we're still combing a little bit with that. But we have 3 guys signed already who we're really excited about, who feel like we're going to come in and be impact players for us right away. But what's going on in the country, right in the world right now with this COVID-19 stuff is some unprecedented times, and it's an unusual times. And during these unusual times, you got to get used to unusual ways of doing things. So I feel like I'm trying to get the best out of what we can do, but we really don't know because the first time going through it, and just kind of got to try to sit back and enjoy your family and enjoy what you can.
Right, because it's different. Normally, you guys, you have unofficial visits, you have visits, official visits for guys to come out and really get a feel on how that works. I know I have a 2020 kid that's still trying to, that's my son that's still trying to find a home. It's different because we had visits set up to go to places and go do things. Without that, you don't get that, wow, this is a place I want to be feeling, from a virtual tour. So, it's kind of a coin flip right now with a lot of recruits. What's your last scholarship? A lot of kids will watch this video. I'll send it out to a lot of coaches and let them know, that I have a contact now for that last scholarship or scholarships in the future. What type of players are you looking for? We'll have our players watch these videos so they can learn about Coach Collins from TSU. We're trying to build a network to where we send more of our kids directly to the HBCU route. We want to start filtering that back into our program because Lincoln Prep is a historical black high school, one of the top high schools in the nation. Kids are high academic. The athletics are really, really excelling. So what type of kids do you look to recruit? I mean, obviously talent-wise, but, everything combined. If you had to fill that last spot, what would you be looking for right now?
Well, I'm always looking for guys that have high IQ. That's the number one thing. High IQ. They come from winning programs and they have good character. Those three things that are going to be non-negotiable for me, especially moving in year number 3. We want to make sure that we have the right kind of kids in the program. Obviously, position to position, I'm going to look for different stuff from a skill set standpoint. It just depends on what we have on our team and what we don't. But I just want those 3 things, man. If a guy can bring me those 3 things, along with whatever specifically I'm looking for in that particular scholarship, then he's somebody that I'm going to be interested in. That's pretty much the bottom line. It's not rocket science.
Right.
But I just want really good kids in my program to have high character.
Right. I mean, that's usually the general consensus for everyone. That's always the first thing I tell my high school players. The coach knows if you can play, but they want to know if they can keep you around for 4 years without you causing them to go gray or cause them a bunch of headaches. So, we try to drive that home on the high school level and get them prepared. What do you see the differences for recruiting right now as far as maybe when you were recruited and what, today's world looks like even outside of the COVID-19?
Well, I think this generation they're blessed because, like you said, outside of this situation, they have so many opportunities to be seen. When I was coming out, if you didn't make it to the Nationals in AAU, then you weren't going to get seen. Like there weren't any college coaches at your sub-state games or your state games. But if you had to figure out a way to finish in that top 3 or top 4 in the state, you got to the Nationals, which was usually, somewhere like Orlando or Salt Lake City, somewhere that you would play, and it would be 50, 60 coaches at the game, and that would be the only chance you got. So if you didn't play good in that tournament, like if you didn't have a big name, if you didn't play good in that tournament, then the coaches didn't see you from a national standpoint. So I just feel like, and now they'll have 4 or 5 straight weekends all over the country where it's 50, 60 coaches in every single gym throughout the country. So it's kind of hard to not show what you can do in those chances. And even with that, even in the generation that we have right now, kids still slip through the cracks all the time. But it just happens less now than it did back then.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing, man. I also feel like now, you can go 0-4 in weekend number 1, and then go 0-4 in weekend number 2, go 0-4 weekend number 3, and it doesn't really affect you because you're going to play in front of college coaches regardless.
Right.
But we wanted to be a part of a team and do team things and win as a team. I didn't care if I scored. We just wanted to do whatever we could to get to that Nationals. And because losing mattered, I don't think it doesn't matter as much now to these kids because they play 60 games in the summer, so.
Right. It's not like playing at the park where, if you lost a game, you didn't get back on the court or,
no doubt.
like you basically, it's win at all costs.
No
at
doubt.
that level when we were coming up. So, if it's 50, 60 guys waiting to play, where
Yeah.
if you lose one at 11 now, you got another one at 1. So it's short term. Do you think that affects the competitiveness of this generation of players, though?
Yes. I mean, yes and no. I do feel like this generation doesn't play with the OGs as much as we did. When you go into the center leagues or the parks outside and you got those old heads beating you up and teaching you the game, and then after the game they put their arm around you and love on you, and then it's all love. but you got better that day, and you knew the competitive nature was in you. It just doesn't happen like that anymore for some strange reason. Kids don't play outside as much. There are definitely places in the nation that do, but some of the parks that I grew up playing on, I drive by them now. There's nobody ever out there.
Never.
So I think that it has changed some things a lot. You got more kids getting trainers and going against cones, and they rather go against an actual person. But I guess we just have to see in the long run. I'd like to see a study on the injuries, because they were trying to say load management helps you with less injuries, but every time I look up, KD has got an Achilles tear, and Kyrie's not playing, and Steph's not playing. So
exactly,
people still stay hurt. So I don't know. I talk to my dad about this all the time, and my dad always tells me he doesn't even remember anybody ever tearing their ACL back in the day.
Yeah, it was unheard of. It was unheard of.
So I do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just contributes to just the toughness of the game. Like even watching The Last Chance, documentary that's been out the last several weeks. Those guys went through a physical pounding, but you never seen any of them blow knees out or blow Achilles out or any of these injuries that we see from our guys now. You never saw any of that. And I think a lot of that does contribute to playing 60, 70 games at AAU, in the summer and all of that. It has a big impact. So let's get back to TSU and HBCU. What are your challenges with, of course, everybody wants to automatically say, oh, I want to go Power 5. I want to go to one of these big schools like Duke or North Carolina. Of course, every kid, little kid, that seems to be their initiative. What do you think is the advantages of HBCU and your environment versus that type of environment?
A lot of the schools from Power 5s, it's just a lot of kids, they end up going there. They kind of have to choose between a school like a mid-major or that school, and they only have like one of them. That's why they end up transferring. And we have over 900 transfers this year because it's like the coolest thing to do. And sometimes it is a dream come true to play on that level too. That's part of it. Who dreams of playing, at the smallest level possible? Like, you dream the biggest dream. You want to play at the biggest school that you could possibly play at. You want to play in the NBA. So subconsciously, when you get to that level and you start getting recruited as a high school player, you think that's what it's supposed to be. But the reality is you should go where who's showing you the most love, who's been there from the start, where you're going to have an opportunity to actually play and play through mistakes. And I tell the kids all the time, man, the coaches, the school that you end up going to, the coaches are going to treat you when you get there the same way they treated you in recruiting. So if they come through at the last minute and recruit you and you end up going there, when you get there, they kind of coach you like that too. And if they've been recruiting you since you was an 11th grader and been showing you love and watched you play 5-6 times and follow you in the summer and everything like that, when you get there, they're going to try to make sure you work through it. They are invested in you. And a lot of kids make that mistake sometimes. And the one thing that we try to hang our hat on at TSU is that the love that we're going to show for you is going to be genuine and authentic through and through, no matter what. And if something doesn't go right, it's because you just got to see something wrong with you, because we're going to do everything we can. Now, playing time and all that, a kid can be down and out about not playing as much as they want to play. But ultimately, if you don't play as much as you want to play, that's a least that you have created through summer workouts and practices, and you got to get in the gym and get better. But and I really, one of the biggest things that I like about this year's team too is, and this could change because you know how kids are, but as of now, we don't have anybody transferring. We haven't had one kid call me and say they want to leave. And we've had kids that are not playing a lot. We got guys averaging 1 point a game, 0.6 points, and 2 points. Usually those kids are the first ones that want to call you and say, I'm leaving.
Right.
But I think we've done a good job of showing our kids that it's bigger than you, and it's about the team. It's about us doing something special. And no matter who it is, everybody can impact us making history here at TSU.
Hey, Coach, I want to chime in real quick on this part. Cascade Sports is known as home of the student athlete, and you hit on that a little earlier and was saying about your graduation rate. How important is education to your program and graduation. And the other thing I want to hit on, because the reason I chose HBCUs to feature all 110, 100 and whatever, is that the enrollment has been going down over the last 2 or 3 decades because of the big universities, quote unquote. They have the finances and they're in bed with these major shoe companies. Just heard some stuff about KU yesterday with Adidas and all of this. And it's a big marquee for our players. See, when I went to Central State and came out in '69, and I guess that might have been really the golden years for HBCUs, because Tennessee State, Fisk, and all those Howard, they were at a pinnacle, and blacks wanted to go to HBCU. They didn't care about those big universities, maybe go get their masters from the big universities. But now the sunlight has not been on HBCUs. So in our interviews, I asked our coaches to talk about the nurturing factor that the HBCU has, and in particular, your school. And they all really have the same story. The teachers know everybody on campus, the coaches know. Run it down real quick.
Well, yeah, like you said, academics is by far what, we hang our hat on, and anybody that steps foot on the HBCU campus knows it's just a different kind of love that you feel from the campus than you would anywhere else. And like you said, it's so true. In the 60s, my dad was coming up in that era. They weren't allowing black athletes to play at these Power 5 schools that have all of our black athletes now.
Right.
We weren't even allowed to go there, and if we were allowed to go, it was a quota of 1 per team or 2 per team. And it is funny to me that, and I'm not racist, I don't have a racist bone in my body, but it's funny to me that I see certain schools that didn't allow, that were openly
biased.
Yeah.
Segregated.
That's a diplomatic term, but you can't say it, but I can. They were racist.
Yeah.
I came up in that era, and in that era, you have 1 black on the team.
Yeah, and now their whole team is black. So, Tennessee State in 1960 was just coming off the first ever 3-peat in college basketball history. John McClendon was coaching Dick Barnett and Barnhill and these guys. And not only did they come off 3 straight championships, 4 of those guys off that team went to the NBA. And I was just telling somebody maybe a couple weeks ago on a podcast that, can you imagine HBCU having 4 guys in the starting lineup all play in the NBA? Like, that's the kind of talent that we had. Earl Pearl Monroe was playing HBCU. Willis Reed. These guys, nowadays, they'd probably be at Kansas or Kentucky or somewhere. But back then, these guys were going to the HBCUs. And Dick Barnett, and then they were probably in the NBA, but they were role players. No, Dick Barnett averaged 27 points a game. He was NBA All-Star, and for you New York Knicks fans out there, he was the.
That's me. I'm from New York, and hey man, you're a student of the game. A lot of these people are not students of the game. You bringing up my era when people be asking about basketball. I be talking about Clyde and Earl and Dick Barnett, and even some of those Celtics, JoJo White and so forth.
No doubt. So I'm a big time historian. I've read all the books of Ben Jobe and McClendon and Big House Gaines, and that's why I'm real confident that we can bring it back to TSU. I'm real confident, and it's not like I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that had never been done before, because it's been done before. It's already been done. It's time for it to bring it back. Just like Jerry curls. Now it's time to bring the Jerry curl back. You know what I'm saying?
But Coach, you know what? Though, it's just as important to rejuvenate that and bring it back. Because once kids start seeing the success level like that, that's, as you know, in basketball, that's how you sustain what you're doing. Once kids start seeing your program winning, you're doing great things. Guys are going to play overseas or in the NBA or whatever. You're in the tournament every year, things like that. That's how you keep it basically recruits itself. So bringing it back to that level is just as important as what, the history of what's there. that's going to create boosters and all of that. But you know what I mean? All of the revenue comes back. As an AD, I deal with that all day. If you're winning, everybody wants to be, oh yeah, we'll donate some money to your program. That's just kind of how it works. But if you're not, then it's hard to get that going.
Exactly.
So for us, Coach, when we doing this, we starting a coaches. We got a coaches association, City of Fountains Coaches Association, that's spearheaded by Nelson. We want all HBCU coaches to be a part of that network, because we feel like a major issue is the connection's just not there from athletics standpoint directly to the coaches, directly to the people that make those decisions, to get in front of these kids early and let them know that, hey man, listen, you can go to these Power Fives or whatever, but talk to us first and see what we got to offer. It just seems like there's something missing there, and we're trying to bridge that gap back to get guys in front of guys early, to open that door back up.
Right.
I think that's important.
On that, Coach, the difference in the City of Fountain Coaches Association and the things we involved in, that Cascade Media Group, we own 8 platforms. And how many interviews have you been able to do like this, where if you wanted to talk for an hour, you could talk for an hour?
I mean, you know what, not to discredit you, but it just kind of started up during this COVID. This is the second time I've been able to talk. This is only the second time, though, in my life.
But see, we've been doing this. Hey, Coach, we've been doing this for the last 12 years. Yeah. You got to go take a look at our website.
Yeah.
And we don't do it just with coaches. We're primarily a high school website. If you go to our website, cascadesports.tv, get past these HBCU coaches and look at the high school games and the interviews. Our kids, they're talking 9 minutes, 5 minutes. And what we do, we just don't get the star player.
Right.
We perfected, we go to the practices, and then we do interviews where they have time. You know how you coaches are. Game's over, y'all are rushing out the gym.
We out of here.
Yeah, it's no time for interviews, and God forbid you lose, you don't even want to talk. So we go to the practices, and we have good relationships with most of the high school teams in this area, and we interview anywhere from 5 to 8 kids off the team. So now, as you're a college coach, you can look at the games those kids are playing in, and you can see an in-depth interview with those kids, and you get a better look at who that kid is, because those interviews are no different from how we're interviewing you. We're talking to those kids about their rise and their skill set, who helped them, what their priorities are, what their values are. And you as a coach, as Coach Glasgow was saying, can use this as a tool to recruit from. And if you have anything to say on that, Coach Glasgow, run it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's at the level way higher than where I'm at, but I think that the relationships are what everything is based off of. I mean, if you have a good contact in Kansas City and you call me up and say, Coach, I need a wing that can get up and down the floor and that can guard. And you know what I'm saying? I'll say, all right, Coach, let me see what I can do. You know what I mean? That's kind of how this
and
whole thing works.
And we're doing St. Louis also, and they got a lot of good athletes coming out of the Lou.
But we worry about KC right now. The Lou gets a lot of love down there. They get a lot more love down there right now, but they're putting out a quality, some quality product.
The City of Fountain Coaches Association growing that, and you seen Rain Man? Both of y'all have seen Rain Man. I know that. They were playing the cards, and he busted. He needed the queen, and he said, "There's plenty more in the deck. Mm-hmm. There's plenty more in the deck. It's enough athletes, quality athletes that are coming out of Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, because now I'm speaking from a business standpoint with Cascade Media and the City of Fountain Coaches Association. That's what we've got to have. That here's a pool of talent from the Midwest, as you being a member of the City of Fountain Coaches Association, which Coach Glasgow is over the operations of all our sports, football, basketball, soccer. He can say, I can't fill a bill with someone off of my team, but I got relations with these coaches here, and they got just what you need.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I think, you know what, like, that's what we need. You know, we need somebody to be able to break the mold and say, you know what, I'm not gonna go to this Power 5. I'm going here. But that's like way easier said than done, because a lot of us HBCU coaches, and not just HBCU coaches, mid-major and low-major schools, we recruit a kid from the 9th grade all the way up to the 12th grade. He'll have one good game in the summer, and Power 5 school come in and recruit him for 1 month, and he goes there. And the hardest part is when it comes to the end, actually getting that kid to commit to us. So for, you know, people like the Coaches Association or the coaches that are around that coach, that's where it's got to be some type of delegation of, you know what, no, we're not doing it like that. Right. And that hasn't been happening a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because for me, I can just speak for myself personally. I've shot my shot at a lot of top 100, 200, even 300 kids, and they won't even, you know, they'll listen, but then when it comes down to it and it's time to make a decision, they'll go with what's cool or what's the highest school, almost 10 out of 10 times. Almost.
And they'll be sitting on the bench.
Exactly. And you know how many guys are sitting on the end of these Power 5 benches that would be all conference guys on this level?
Right. And have a better shot to get to where they want to go.
Yep.
By being where you are instead of sitting on the end of that bench. If they were actually playing, they give themselves an opportunity to get into an NBA draft, definitely to go overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with this whole thing is we're just trying to break that mold and get more information out to these kids, especially with technology. If they can go on and see an interview from you, Coach, and see what type of things you look for, what your program's about, you know what I mean? That gives them some insight, and they can start researching on their own. Because as an AD, I always tell their parents, you guys got to be in the loop, man. Like, you got to know what's going on. Like, you can't rely on me for your information. You can't rely on me as a high school coach for your information. You need to be seeking this information out on your own, and you need to know what's going on with recruiting, because now it's become where they trust the AAU coach to do all the recruiting for them, and they out of the loop. And then when it comes down to a kid don't get recruited, they like, what happened? So we want to create an avenue to where they can learn about you guys as coaches. Then they can do their own research with their kid to see what the best situation will be for them overall. Not just, like you said, what's popular. And you think, I'm going to go to this big school. I got an automatic free ride to wherever I want to get to. And it just flat out just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I came out of William Howard Taft High School in '69, one of the top track athletes in the nation, had scholarships to Brown, to Syracuse, and what have you. My coach told me, Carlos, you won't last 2 seconds at one of them schools. Take your butt on down to Virginia State in Petersburg, Virginia. That's where I did my first year. And with my grades. My first year, I had an 0.7 the first semester. People say, no, you had a 1. No. And they babied me and mothered me. And I went to Manhattan College that summer, got my grades up. I was so embarrassed I didn't even go back to Virginia State. Went to Central State, same type of atmosphere, nurturing and what have you. And they got me through it, even though I had to take kinesiology 3 or 4 times and testing measurements. But they were determined, you're going to pass this and you're going to get you a degree.
Yeah. And I think that's the special thing about HBCUs is that you have that family atmosphere where it's your mom or your auntie in there teaching you. She's not going to want to let you fail. You know, she's going to go the extra mile because she cares about you. She sees her son in you or her daughter in you. And it's just a different feeling. It's a different feeling all the way around. And it's a special place for, you know, student athletes to potentially come to. But until they actually get them on campus so they can actually feel that authentic love. And it's hard to kind of just talk about it. You got to actually feel it for yourself.
And that's holy. And all of that comes with exposure. We're in 76, 78 cities, 10 different countries. That's the purpose of these interviews. That's the purpose of the Kansas City, the Coaches Association, to get more exposure. And now this virus, as you said, this is the second type interviews. People are now really understanding the power of the internet, and nothing is going to be the same. And so with our audience, our high school audience, tuning in to these interviews, they're going to hear the same type of story because it is the same. HBCUs is one big family for African Americans to take it to another level in education and in sports. And it's not just basketball. When you look at Grambling and their history of and understanding that you can go to that big university, you're going to be on the bench for the most part. And is that what you go to the university to do? You be very unhappy, and that's where all them transfers come into play. And I'm going to circle around to those AAU coaches. When this money got into the sports, the parents are not understanding. You don't have the next Michael Jordan, even though the coach is telling you you do. You've got to use your good sense to help direct your kid to getting an education and getting a degree that might take care of them for the rest of their life.
Right. And I think the status thing is what's killed a lot of kids too. High school coaches back in the day didn't care about status. That's why your coach told you to go where you gonna go. You know, kept it real with you. Now, AAU coach, and this is not for every AAU coach, obviously, because I don't want nobody hear this and say, I don't do that, but a lot of AAU coaches send a kid to a school just to say he sent a kid to a school. I sent somebody there before, but I don't see them telling everybody the stats of the amount of guys that had to transfer. When I was a junior college head coach, I prided myself on sending kids to places where they could be all league players and go and play right away. I didn't care if it was Division I, NAIA, it didn't matter. But I think for what we want to happen, it's got to be a push and pull on both ends. It's got to be the high school coach has got to be on the same page. The AAU coach has got to be on the same page. And then the people in my position can't just assume that we're going to get them because y'all are going to help us. We got to work our butts off too and be in those gyms and come see them in high school and AAU and come spend time with them and home visits. And we got to do it the right way. And then once we do that, then if that kid feels like this is a place for him to be, even if they're a little unsure, they need to get that little extra push to get it done, because if we're going to really make a sharp change, you got to go against the grain a little bit. You got to see through some of the BS that some of these guys sell and go with what you know. Because it's all a gamble. Everything's a gamble, right?
Right.
I'm saying for both, everything's a gamble. But if you're playing the percentages, you got a higher chance to being successful on a level that like this than you would be on that. And that's just the numbers to tell you that.
Hey, Coach Glasgow, in wrapping up, what are your final words before Coach Collins?
Coach, first, as always, man, I always like to thank coaches. I know you guys are busy this time of year, man, trying to finish out, the semester, making sure everybody grades and, we know how that goes. So I appreciate you taking the time out to come talk to us. For me personally as a high school coach and, my whole squad is Black kids. So, our football team is mostly Black kids. You know what I mean? So for me, as an AD, as a basketball coach, I want to make sure I make as many connections with HBCUs as possible, because coming out of our high school, you automatically going to get academic money automatically. I mean, just because of the status of the academics in our high school, it's nationally ranked. So, I mean, for me to combine that type of academic environment with a prestigious athletic environment also, I want those kids to be able to go to a place where everybody, they can identify with people. When you go away from home, that's the one thing that, as a college recruit that people can't really always prepare you for is what that's like once you get there and you're on your own. So I appreciate you, Coach. I would like to build a relationship where if you need some guys down in this area and you can't make it to this area or you can't be down here, you can always be like, Coach, hey, man, and, this is what I'm looking for. And, what you got down there, you got anybody in the local areas or any other coaches that I can contact? Because I feel like that's what's missing from bridging the gap to get more kids to go to HBCU.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate you being that bridge for me. And I appreciate you guys for having me on. And, the main thing for me is, like I said, is I want to create a ripple for college basketball. And to do it at HBCU is a dream come true for mine. I'm excited to be at TSU. We're obviously headed in the right direction. And we just got to continue to get the kind of young men that want to come in here and help make history and do something that their grandkids can look back and say, Dad, you were the first to do that? I want some kids that want that kind of opportunity. So I'm looking forward to it, man. And whatever kind of connections you guys have, don't hesitate to call us down in Nashville, and we'll work our butts off and do whatever we can to get involved with some of those guys.
Hey, Coach, it was pleasing plum pleasure to have you on the show. And what we're asking your communications people and yourself, when you have highlights, when you have different things going on, you'll be hearing from Coach Glasgow to send that to Cascade Sports. Okay. And we'll be putting that on our network, showing this is what's going on down in Tennessee, or this is what's going on at this school or that school. And because we have been a high school website and a high school coaches association, when I got the epiphany to broaden that to HBCUs, we definitely want your participation, and we definitely want you to share the information that we have. And Coach Glasgow will be making some things up. You'll be getting some emails on the direction that we're going. And as we always say in ending our program, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This is brought to you by the Location 1 Building, 1734 East 63rd Street. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself.